All right, that's the My Radio Show hotline. And this man is in his 6th season as Los Angeles Chargers general manager. He is a native of Buffalo, New York, and is the pride and joy of John Carroll University in Ohio, where he played wide receiver. Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Telesco on My Radio Show. Hi, Tom. How are you?
Great. Thank you for that introduction.
Well, thanks for joining us. First things first, how's Russell Okung doing, and what happened?
Yeah, luckily he's doing very, very well right now, but it was it was a little bit of a scary situation a couple months ago in early June. Luckily he sensed that something wasn't right, and he got in touch with our medical people right away, and they got him over to Hoag Hospital, and they kind of diagnosed what it was, and so he's been out in front of it, but it's going to take some time. This is one of those. This is not like he said. This is not an ankle injury or shoulder injury. This is an internal medicine injury. So we'll rely on the doctors to see where it goes, and we just want to make sure he gets the best care he can. And football-wise, will be secondary, but he's expected to make a full recovery. I don't know exactly what the time frame will be, but like I said, I'm glad he caught it when he did, and he's been getting some really good care.
All right, we're going to talk about Melvin Gordon in a minute, but first, I'm a huge football fan. The season is great. Playoffs are better. Off-season can be kind of a bore, but never is there more excitement than when NFL training camp starts. Do you agree?
Yes, and the off-season, I wouldn't use the word bore, but it's long, isn't it? It's just long. All we do is talk about things. Yeah. You can't do any. It's obviously we have free agency and we have the draft and we're busy, but after a while, it's just too much talking about it. And so once you get to training camp, you can actually get on the field and see what you have. And that's and then obviously for all 32 teams, we all have hope right now that we're going to be the one standing at the end. But I've been going to a training camp every year since, I'm trying to think, 1987, I guess. High school, college, and then I've only worked in the NFL since I graduated from college. So this is, I love training camp. This is my body clock, and we're just happy to be here and get the season ready to go.
We had Tim McDonald, the Pro Bowler and former Super Bowl champion from the 49ers on last hour, and I asked him if his bones still hurt this time of year, and he said yes.
Yeah, can you imagine? I mean, players like him. I mean, that's 4 years of high school football, 4 years of college football, and then a long NFL career. That's a lot of time. It's a lot of wear and tear on your body, and it's amazing what these guys sacrifice and go through, for the good of their teams and for the good of their careers. But that's a long way, and that's back when he played, and it wasn't that long ago. But training camps were a lot longer when he played. Yeah. 5-6 weeks sometimes. Now it's a little bit shorter.
So let's talk about that, the evolution of training camp. With fewer practices on the field, have you guys figured out how to balance getting in some good work with keeping guys healthy?
Yes, I think so. I mean, that you try. I mean, when I first started in the league, it was 2-a-days every single day, and camp was a little bit longer, and we've evolved since then. But we're still trying to find a balance between getting your team some really good work in training camp, but trying to manage the risk of injury. And we all try and figure out where that is, because I mean, football is it's a physical game, and you do have to grind through training camp, but you have to be smart about it. So we try and build in recovery days. We do a lot of recovery with the players and make sure they have time to do that and the resources to do that, because we do have to get work done on the field, on the grass. But we do the best we can to put them in a position they can or be in this to succeed. And we're all looking for that perfect balance.
Los Angeles Chargers general manager Tom Telesco joining us on My Radio Show. Okay, let's dig into the personnel. Your star running back Melvin Gordon is holding out of camp. He's one of a handful of players who are doing that. He's hoping for a new deal. Where do the Chargers stand with Melvin Gordon today? Yeah,
I mean, no change today than the last couple of days. And we were just talking about the word balance, trying to balance a tough practice with players recovering, and we have to balance the same thing with contracts. We try to balance getting the player the contract that he feels is right, and then on the team side, trying to find a contract that works well for the team with the other 52 players that we'll end up with at the cut to 53, his 52 teammates. We can build the team the way we need to build it, and not only for this year but for future years. So it's a simple question, but it's a hard answer to find sometimes when you have to try and find that balance between those two. So right now, we would love Melvin to be here, and he's been such a big part of this football team. And, for us, when you see a player that you draft, you see him develop and turn into the player he's been, it's very gratifying, and he can help us win. He's a great kid, too. Well, he's not a kid. He's an adult. But he's not here, so we have to go with what we have. And we've got a good group of running backs behind them that are going to have to really step up right now and take on a bigger load. With Melvin not being here.
So Le'Veon Bell sat out an entire season last year, as you know, did not play for the Steelers, then winds up signing with the Jets. The Rams gave Todd Gurley a big fat contract last season, but by the end of the year there was talk about the possibility of him having an arthritic knee. You talked about balance. Now, running backs, they're a special group of players. They're so important to teams, but they also have a lifespan of about 2.5 years. Is that the toughest position to try to figure out that balance that you're talking about?
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. I mean, you really hit it perfectly right there. I mean, they're important to your offense, and I think sometimes they get people talk about, well, you can plug anybody back there at running back. I don't necessarily believe that. I mean, they touch the ball a lot in the run game. They touch the ball a lot in the passing game, and by the way, the running backs are used a lot more in the passing game now than they were, 20, 30 years ago, and they have to be able to pass protect and know all the protections up front. So there's a lot on their plate. But with that, if you're going to handle the ball a lot and have a lot of pass protection, the injury rate for running backs is higher than some other positions. That's just the nature of it. But, when you have a back that you feel like can really, really do all three phases well and help you win, like we think Melvin can, that's someone you'd like to invest in. But, it's a tough position. Those are tough discussions and tough talks. And, every team's philosophy may be a little bit different. But, like I said, you kind of hit it right on the head when you talked about that.
So for me, I describe the economics sort of like a Rubik's Cube. You have to take some of the blues, move them over to the whites so that you can move them back over to the blues. If you were teaching a class on salary cap, how would you describe the strategy of giving some players big deals when the time is right while making others wait or even having to make those hard cuts?
Well, you have a lot of discussions, and each situation is a little bit unique. With the salary cap in our league, it's a hard cap. You cannot go over it. There's different ways you can do to move money around to give you flexibility, but in the end, it's like a credit card. Eventually, you're going to have to pay it all at some point, and what you don't want to do is push too much money into the future. Even though the cap rises each year, you don't want to push too much money in the future and really hamstring yourself. So when you do the deals for different players, you really have to look beyond just the first year. You can manipulate the number a little bit to get the number lower the first year, but eventually you got to pay the piper. So you have to look at the future years, look at what other players are going to be up with contracts and how everything works in, and you have to decide, what type of the player that is. And if it's, our philosophy here has been to draft and try and draft real well, and then develop those players and re-sign our own. And that's our philosophy. That's what we like to do: reward our own players. Now, it doesn't mean every single player that makes it for you as a draft pick, you're going to be able to re-sign. That's, in a salary cap world, that's just not possible. But high percentage you'd like to keep. But you always have to be planning for the future and make some tough. There's going to be some tough decisions at some point with some players that you'd like to keep. Actually, one for us last year was Tyrell Williams, our wide receiver. Would have loved to have kept him on the free agent market. He earned a very big contract, and on our team right now, we had Keenan Allen, we had paid a pretty big contract a couple years before, and drafted Mike Williams in the first round. So it was hard to invest in a third receiver at that price. So that's an example of a player that we just couldn't keep, but would have loved to have done it, but just can't do it in a salary cap era.
LA Chargers GM Tom Telesco on my radio show with Rick Garcia. One day your quarterback, Phillip Rivers, is going to be wearing a gold jacket. He isn't getting any younger. How small is the Chargers' window to win a Super Bowl with Rivers as quarterback? How do you address that position in the future?
I don't know about windows. I'm worried about this year, so we got to try and get it done this year. But as far as the future after Phillip, it's something that we're always thinking about, and I've been thinking about for a long time. I know in the draft, there just hasn't been a player there at the right spot, the right time. We felt could be the next guy for us. So, we're always on the lookout for. We know Phillip isn't going to play forever. He's in great shape right now, and he's playing well. But you do have to have a plan for the future, and that was one of the reasons why we had signed Tyrod Taylor in the offseason, who's he's a veteran quarterback, not as old as Phillip is, but he has some starting experience, has won a lot of games, and to have some more depth behind Phillip. But, at some point, you're right. He's going to be in Canton, and he won't be playing for the Chargers. But, it's something always on I shouldn't say even back of my mind. It's always in the front of my mind. I mean, quarterback's the most important position on your football team. So we do a lot of work with it, and but right now we're really happy with what we have, and hopefully that can stay like that for a while.
You've had a couple of seasons under your belt playing in Los Angeles in less than ideal conditions, yet you're sharing a soccer stadium with the LA Galaxy. How is your relationship with your neighbors and eventual roommates in the new stadium, the Rams?
It's been good on our part. We practiced with the Rams 2 years ago. We're going to practice with them again this year. I know Les Dean very well, and Sean McVay. I saw they both got extensions today, so that's great for them.
Did you call your agent when you heard that?
No, I'm very, very happy and lucky where I am right now. But it's they've done a tremendous job there for where the team was before they arrived to where it is now. They've done a tremendous job. Two really good people. I've learned a lot from both of them as far as some things that they do, and it's nice to have a team like that in the same market and a team that we can work with. I mean, having a combined practice during the preseason is great for us to get some really good work done at not quite game level type tempo, but certainly better than a regular practice. So to work with those guys, work with the Saints, it gives us some great practice work. And the fact that the Rams are right over in Irvine and we're in Costa Mesa, it couldn't be better as far as travel is concerned. So it's great having them here.
Do you see a scenario where the Los Angeles Chargers meet the Los Angeles Rams in the Super Bowl?
I'll take that any day of the week.
You don't care who you play. You don't care who you play.
No, I would not. Well, how fun would that be?
And by the way, you got to get past the Chiefs, and the big question is, will the Raiders be a factor? What do you think about those two teams?
Well, we know what the Chiefs are. I mean, the Chiefs won the division last year. They're the team to beat right now. Very talented. Andy Reid's a great coach, but we got Denver and Oakland coming too. Denver has a new quarterback with Joe Flacco. Oakland will be in the second year with John Gruden. I have a ton of respect for John Gruden and his whole staff. So it's a tough division. It has been my whole 6 years I've been here. It's been a very difficult division, and so we got our work cut out for us with those teams. But hey, that's just the way it is. The AFC is a tough conference, and it's a tough division. But we have to find a way to win the division. That's the best way into the playoffs, and hopefully try and get a bye.
Los Angeles Chargers General Manager Tom Telesco on my radio show with Rick Garcia. Thanks so much, Tom, for all of your insight. We appreciate that. Good luck this season.
Anytime, Rick. Thanks for having me on. Take care.
You got it. Take care.